Hello, fight fans, and welcome back to the Hit and Don't Get Hit podcast. This is episode 3, and once again, we are joined by Shay and the stat man himself, Joe. How are we doing, boys? We okay?
I'm doing good. How's yourself?
Not too bad, mate. Just got back from co-op, had a lovely chicken sandwich. It's absolutely delicious. How are you, Joe? You okay?
I'm alright, mate. You?
Not too bad, not too bad. Where else to start? And the new Francis Ngannou.
The baddest man on the planet. That's what he is.
Round 2. I called it. I said round 2. You'll play the clip, mate, because I want that clip.
You're never going to live this down.
I'll play the clip right here.
I think Ngannou. I think we'll see a cautious first round from Stipe, but then in the second, I think you'll see Ngannou break through, and I think 2 minutes into the second round, Ngannou KOs Stipe.
There we go. That's James's prediction. That came true.
Well, I said, I just thought. I mean, he did completely break him down from start to finish. I don't think that is one of the most convincing performances you'll ever see in terms of someone going in is pretty much the underdog after, pretty much getting dominated in the first fight, coming back, and he just dominated him, ended it with a brutal knockout. What did you make of it, lads?
It was domination. I was surprised myself, but the key factor there was, I said it in the previous podcast, with Kamaru Usman in the corner. I think that played a massive deal because he stuffed that takedown really well, and that's what he didn't do in the first fight. So when he stuffed that takedown, that's when I knew Stipe has got no chance. And then he was patient. He was timing his shots, doing low calf kicks, broke him down. And in the second round, it was just brutal. It was just so brutal. I just don't think there's any man on this planet that can take the power off Francis Ngannou.
I honestly, I'm so happy for him as well. He deserves it. It's so good for the UFC, from where he's came from. And he just deserves it. After all, I've seen all the interviews from him this week. It was so deep. Some of the stuff he was talking.
It's his story.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched the Joe Rogan podcast, but he talks about his story.
When I was watching, just mental, and to go in there. And by the way, credit to Stipe,
he's still the greatest heavyweight fighter of all time. There's no doubt about that. But it's just it's Ngannou's time, and it's his time to take over now.
I think we always thought is if he could survive the early onslaught, he could maybe drain him out again, like the first fight. But I like what you said, Shay. I think you've seen it went into the second round, and maybe when that first round was done, you think, oh, Stipe might have survived this now. But Ngannou just comes back and he just finishes him off. Really,
even he got caught with that shot in the final finish. Caught him a shot and buzzed him a bit, and then that's what Stipe had rush in, led in, and got caught with left out and got put to sleep. It was a more timed approach. If you compare the first fight, he had him hurt, and Ngannou had him hurt in the first round, but his time he didn't rush in. Whereas if you look back on the first fight, when he hurt him in the first round, he rushed in. That's what used all his energy. That's what led him to lose a fight. And he's had 3 years of experience since that fight. He's grew as a fighter, he's grew as a mixed martial artist, he's grew as a person, and it's just his story for me. He's come from nothing. I'm super. I say in the video of his hometown in Cameroon, all of them stopping up till about 5 o'clock in the morning cheering for him. It was really nice to watch, and I don't think there's a better person that deserves the world title more than him. So I'm happy for him.
Yeah. What did you make of it, Joe? Just buzzing for Ngannou, or?
And we witnessed murder. It was incredible. Going into the fight, I genuinely didn't know who was going to win. I thought Stipe. I mean, obviously, as you say, he still is the GOAT. Going in, I just kind of thought he's done it before. There's a very high chance he could do it again. But in the back of my mind, it was Ngannou has got that one punch power, unbelievable power. And as we saw in the fight, that showed. But as well as you mentioned earlier, he can take a shot, because there was a point in the first round where Stipe hit him with a good shot, and he just took it and carried on. I thought, right, he can't lose this now. He's kind of got it in his head as well. And as well, as you mentioned again earlier with the takedown, I went into the fight and I'm thinking, as it was going on, oh, Stipe's got this, and then he stuffed the takedown, and it was like, right, he's got it. Ngannou's got this now. It was an unbelievable performance.
He stuffed it well as well. Like, it was he stuffed it really well.
Definitely, yeah.
He nearly got, like, he hurt Stipe bad coming off the clinch for them when Stipe turned his back on him and he was unloading on him. But like I said, it was an unbelievable performance by Ngannou. He's a true monster.
I did think when I was thinking about it the night before, I was thinking, Sugar, we've talked about this, and it's kind of been our main talking point for our first two podcasts. Sorry, that was me just dropping my pen. It's kind of been our main talking point for our first two podcasts, and I was thinking, have we underestimated Stipe here? Because, we obviously Shea, I think you said 45 seconds, which by the way could have happened very easily. I called it. Sorry, saying it again.
Oh my God, you're never going to live this down.
I just thought we may have underestimated Stipe a little bit, but Ngannou comes in and
it's not just underestimating Stipe. I think it's just Francis. It's too hard for anyone.
Like
Francis is too good. Like, he hits like a truck. Like, there's not more. I don't care if you're Johnny Bones. I know I previously said we'll get back on that a little bit later, but there's no man that's taking that shot of Francis Ngannou. I'm sorry, like, there's absolutely no man.
Number one, do we see a third fight with Stipe? And number two, do we see the Jon Jones fight next?
Let's cut the chase. I don't want to say nature. Jon Jones against Francis Ngannou for the world heavyweight title. That's the biggest fight in the UFC at the minute. It's going to be massive. It's going to be closer to Khabib McGregor level. In fact, I think it'll be even bigger than that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like he says in the summertime, Jon Jones, the greatest of all time, in my opinion. Francis Ngannou, the scariest man to ever be in the UFC. That's the fight to me. Name this pussying about with trilogies and Derek Lewis's. No.
Yeah, you have to.
That fight to make. Careful.
Who takes the Jon Jones Ngannou fight?
See, I had such opinion pre this fight. I would have before the Stipe fight. I thought Jon Jones would have probably beat him by decision, similar to what Stipe did before. But after seeing last night's performance and show how much Ngannou's matured and grown as a fighter, I just don't see anyone causing any problems to Ngannou at all.
I think as well. By the way, I 100% agree. Jon Jones is literally one of my favourite fighters. I think he's unbelievable, and his record tells the story. But I just think he doesn't. His last few performances, he's won them, but they haven't been quite on point. And I just think going off and I'm not saying for any second, by the way, that he's going to lose. I think honestly, but he has to level up tremendously.
Yeah, definitely.
Stand a chance with Ngannou and I think if he does that, you do get a lot closer fight. I just think the way Ngannou last night against Stipe as well, a man who did beat him in the first fight, remember, and drained him, and the way he just came, and that would have played a factor, I think. Right,
there's more of a mental game going in that fight.
He's just gone and destroyed him, and I don't see, and the way he's destroyed Stipe, I just don't see him. I just can't see Jon Jones beating him, in my opinion, as long as he doesn't underestimate him. Because what you see sometimes when a fighter becomes a champion,
they get comfortable.
You seen that with McGregor when he beat Aldo. He took his foot off the gas for Diaz because he thought, well, I've beat the champ here. I can do anything now. And he went into that Diaz fight and got very complacent. But we're not here to talk about McGregor. This is Ngannou, and what a performance last night. We get the Jon Jones fight next, hopefully. And yeah, I think that's our chapter done though now. It's a bit of a shame because we've talked about it so much and we've been so excited.
I want to discuss what's next for Stipe.
Yeah.
I think, like, I don't know, like, does he wait to fight the Jon Jones Ngannou winner, or does he keep busy and fight? I know Derek Lewis is up there. I wouldn't mind saying Stipe against Derek Lewis. I think that'd be a really good fight.
I think we'll see that. I think you will see that. I think you will see that him fight the winner of Ngannou, Jon Jones. Even if it's Ngannou, I think we see a third fight there if Ngannou wins. Just because
it's so big, that trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Stipe beating him again. By the way,
no, I think he'll end earlier.
45 seconds.
20 seconds. Yeah, man. But I think with Stipe, like, he's been there, done that. Now I'm not saying from retire because I don't know. He's took a lot of beatings. He went from back-to-back wars with DC. I took a lot out of him, and he's just being crucified by Francis Ngannou. He's getting older, and I don't know. Like, he should take a little bit. I think he should take the rest of the year off probably to get himself together.
Yeah.
Maybe he's fight Derek Lewis, or just wait out. I think I wouldn't argue Stipe getting a title shot in his next fight if he decides to wait out, because look at what he's done for the UFC in that heavyweight division. He's beat DC twice. He's obviously beaten Ngannou, Overeem. I think he is deserving of another title shot. Well, he has to wait his turn. I think Jon Jones is next in line. I think everyone knows that. So, but in the meantime, yeah, probably Derek Lewis is the fight to make for him.
How drunk were you, Shay, when the fight came on?
In fact, I weren't. I just had a couple. I had a couple of cans, and that was it. I had a couple of cans of the Chinese. I kept to the chill one. I didn't want to fall asleep for the big fight.
I did try it last night actually, but
I had a big duck.
I don't know how I managed to actually pull myself together to watch it.
That's what I love about the UFC. Like, it's brutal. Like, it's long, draining.
Yeah,
it's worth it in the end when you get a result like that.
Oh yeah, 100%. The fight I actually managed to wake up for, so I had a little sleep, and then I woke up about 3:30, 4 o'clock. And the first fight I actually watched, so I apologise to all the viewers. I actually missed most of the undercard, but the fight I woke up for and managed to watch was Tyron Woodley.
Yeah, it's sad.
It's done. He's done for.
Yeah. It was sad to see him go out like that. Like, he had a brilliant start the first round. Really good start. I'm thinking I was up there on the edge of my chair, like, go on. Hit my right hand.
She was a fantastic fight. Considering
we got fight of the night.
It only was like a round, but it was absolutely fantastic, that fight. Luque just is what it is.
He's a legit contender. Like, he's very good, Luque. Give him a tube.
Maybe one more warm up fight for him, and we see a title shot with Usman.
I don't know. He's number. I know, when the rankings come out, it'll be number 7. I said I like maybe he's Leon Edwards or Michael Chiesa, something like that, and then move on to the big dogs. I know he called out Nate Diaz, and unless you called Conor McGregor or Jorge Masvidal, Nate Diaz is not fighting you. So, but that's about it. Like, hats off to Luque. He's announced himself as a legit contender in the welterweight division, and that welterweight division keeps on stacking up with great talent.
Yeah, I know we discussed obviously the fight on Wednesday, or did it come out for? I can't remember how our podcast came out. It came out Thursday, I think. And we discussed obviously Tyron Woodley. Do you think that's him done?
Yeah, 100% it's him done. Whether he retires or he goes to Bellator, I don't know.
You can't, like, he's lost 4 fights in a row now. That's it's sad to see, because he was such a great contender at one point. Not even a contender, a great champion at one point.
Yeah.
But I think that's him done. You can make excuses for losing to fighters such as Usman and Burns, and I know, and by the way, Luque was no mug, and he did put on, in Tyron Woodley didn't put on a bad performance, but I just think there's no, mentally he might not be there anymore, and age, it's a young man's sport, and I think that's it for him. What do you think, Joe? Do you think that's Tyron Woodley done?
It's all up to him though, really. Can you see Dana cutting him? Do you think that?
I think he's got no. Yeah, he's got no. Like, Dana shows. He cut Yoel Romero.
I don't think he'll cut him. I think he'll just say to him like, look, like maybe retire now.
Yeah, he'll cut him. I think.
Well, what if he cuts him? Surely he's got to cut Cowboy, because Cowboy, his last 5 fights, he's lost 4 and had a no contest.
I think Cowboy's last fight in his contract's against Diego Sanchez. I don't know when that's confirmed. Well, I know that was set up, him against Diego Sanchez. I know that's Diego Sanchez's last fight. But with Cowboy, he's losing them fights, but he's up for it. Like, Cowboy's Cowboy. Like, he'll fight anytime, anywhere. But for Cowboy's sake, I says even after the McGregor fight, he should retire. But I think with Dana, I think he's got to be brutal. Like, for example, like, he cut Junior Dos Santos, and even when he cut Overeem, like, Overeem was still in a good run of form until the Volkov defeat. But yeah, for his safety and for the UFC, he's beneficial. Like, he's got to cut Tyron Woodley. If I was Tyron Woodley, I wouldn't fight for another promotion. I'd retire. So yeah, that's
retire and focus on your music career.
His music career,
I'll stick for that.
Music career has fucked him over though, because he made that song after he beat Darren Till, and he's lost 4 fights in a row now. So, like,
it's a curse.
Tyron Woodley and music do not mix well together.
No, not at all. Not at all. Anyways, going on to the fight that you missed, James. Sugar Sean, the Sugar Show's back. Like, obviously I watched that fight and he was so, like, his striking was beautiful. He was flowing. The shots were landing. He was buzzing Almeida up. There was a point where he dropped him, and then he went for the walk-off KO. But the fight was over. And then, like, I was thinking in the back of my head, like, is this a mistake? Because Almeida was landing some decent leg kicks and trying to shut the tray down. And he took his time in the second round, picked his shots, and then in the third round, started loosening up a bit more. Caught Almeida a left uppercut, I think it was, rocked him with his boots, dropped him, and he tried to walk off again. And then he just unleashed a massive, like,
nasty knockout, yeah.
And knocked him. He was unconscious. It was brutal to watch, like. But the Sugar Show is back, and I'm happy that the Sugar Show is back.
He's got to be careful, though, because if he does one of those walk-off, knockout things, whatever it is, and they get back up and they beat him, he's going to look like an absolute fool. So, definitely. I mean, if he's listening, I'm sure he is. The best advice would be just finish your opponent. What are you doing?
I think that's what DC and that was saying to him on the commentary. Just finish your opponent. I think he loves the highlight reel. The highlight reel KOs. I think everyone does, but if you've got to finish a fight, no need to just walk off and whatnot.
The most important thing is getting that finish, and it very nearly could have cost him yesterday, because Almeida did come back. And
he did, yeah.
He did, but he knocked him down, and then it was kind of like, yeah, he's got this. What do you think's next for him, though? Where do you think
he's got to break in that top 15.
Absolutely.
Top 10. I think I'd probably, in fact, I'll put him in with Cheeto again, Cheeto Vera. I'd put him in with that fight, that rematch. Or maybe don't know, Dominic Cruz, maybe. Like, that's a decent little fight. And always talks about Cody Garbrandt. People were saying that, but obviously Garbrandt's fighting Rob Font. Marlon Moraes, I know he's coming off a couple of losses. That'd be a great name for him. Very limited opponent. But yeah, the Sugar Show's back. You just need to be more careful.
Absolutely. And we've already mentioned Woodley, 4 in a row losses. I think Almeida's now got 4 in a row.
Yeah, he should be cut. He hasn't won since 2016 or something. Like, he's not a big name for Woodley. Like, whereas Woodley, you can say, he was the UFC champion. Like, he got to repay the loyalty he had. But Almeida brings nothing to the company, brings no value, and never has really. So yeah, it should.
We could see a rap battle between, like, Woodley.
Winner stays.
Yeah. Winner stays on in the UFC.
I'd cringe so much. But like I said before, that bantamweight division is looking real good now. A lot of top contenders there, and Sugar Sean just added his name back into the mix.
Just again, I just want to say, I know probably Dana White is probably watching right now. But what a card from Dana White last night.
It was great.
Unbelievable.
I watched the full card and there was a lot of great fights on.
Yeah, what a night for the UFC. History was made, in my opinion. UFC 2 will be one for the memory books, definitely.
In Africa, got 3 champions out. Maybe we'll see first ever UFC event in Africa. Imagine that. Ngannou, Adesanya, Usman headlining 3 title fights. The question is, where would you put me in an event? You got to put Ngannou main event.
Yeah, of course
you got to.
And Usman would probably be your second. I just what a night for the UFC. What a night for Ngannou. Fair play. What a card. One for the memory books, definitely. So 5 hours previously, Ngannou was crowned heavyweight champion, probably about 5 a.m. UK time. At about 10 p.m., 11 p.m. UK time, Dillian Whyte got his revenge on Alexander Povetkin. What a performance. That's a performance.
It was a well-structured performance, but brutal performance. Like, he took no shit in there. I think he performed really well. He stabbed his jab early on, and he basically it was sort of what Joshua done, popped the jab out, popped the jab out of the body, broke Povetkin down. And once you've got Povetkin broken down, tired, he's very limitless, in my opinion.
Well, the first, big shot. I honestly think, even in that first fight, come on, Whyte.
Yeah, it was a fluke, wasn't it?
Yeah, complete fluke. Really, that rematch would have never have happened had Whyte just, not made the mistake he made. He would have probably finished him in the 5th round of the first fight. Oh yeah, by the way, I called that fight as well. Click the first podcast. I said he'd close the show inside 5 rounds.
Oh my god. We should do a score system of between me and James, because I think Joe I'll get too competitive with James.
No, honestly though, Dillian Whyte, what a performance! He did what he had to do. He went in there. Did you know he had a hamstring injury as well? By the way.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I watched him on IFL TV, and he was you could see he was screaming in pain when he came off it, when he came back into the dressing room after the fight. But yeah, I thought the first round, you could have got him out there in the first round. Povetkin was wobbly from the start. He walled Povetkin from the start. But Povetkin,
it was weird. It was very weird.
I think it was the 3rd round. It was a beautiful right overhand, and Povetkin just did not budge. I honestly think Povetkin just took too much punishment in that first round. In that 3rd round, by the 4th round, he was gone. And I know at times it was a bit of a brawl, but there was no doubt. Dillian Whyte, that unbelievable performance. And I don't know what's next for him. I'd love to see him fight Wilder.
But I think that's a fight to make. That's a huge fight. Like Gary says, it's a colossal stadium fight. I know Wilder refused to fight Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte was calling his name out for years when he was champ. The shoes on the other foot. Now Dillian Whyte's at your side.
Well, you're not seeing Wilder come back, in my opinion. As much as I'd love to see the fight,
I think he'll get greedy, in my opinion. His ego will be shattered, but his ego's too big not to come back. And you'll see, Dillian Whyte is easy picking, but Dillian Whyte spoils him out. He puts him out in 4 rounds or something.
I agree.
In my opinion.
But I think Eddie Hearn said he wants to get Dillian Whyte into
America. It's a perfect fight for that. Trevor Bryan, the WBA regular champion. Dillian Whyte called him out in an interview with IFL TV. I think that's a really good fight to make. Trevor Bryan's very limited. We haven't really seen much of that Trevor Bryan. He's always been in America, so it'd be good to get his name out. I think it'd be a similar situation it was with Charles Martin and with AJ, and I think Dillian Whyte would get the destruction job on him.
But isn't Charles Martin like in line to fight?
Yeah, I'm sure he's like number 2 or number 1 or something. IBF mandatory, but that was just a joke. That AJ against Martin.
I think we'll see. I think you'll see if the Wild. I think you'll see Dean White fight in the summer, and then later in the year it'll be Wilder if Wilder has the balls to come out of retirement, or you'll fight Ruiz if Ruiz wins his up and coming fight. Because that's
definitely
fight you want to see, because we know obviously Joshua Fury, that chapter is going to be in boxing for the next year. So he does have to wait Dillian Whyte, which is fair enough, But you do in the meantime want to see him fight them. I wouldn't say world class fighters, but the level just below Fury and Joshua, just so when the Fury Joshua chapter's over, White's ready to fight the winner.
I think he's just been very unlucky, Dillian Whyte. He deserves a world title shot. And we need to settle this debate now, James.
So we've had this debate on Snapchat. I am right when I say
you're not right at all.
Dillian Whyte would beat AJ in a rematch.
Oh my God. How can explain? I don't understand what is your logic towards Dillian Whyte beating AJ. I mean,
stronger fighter. AJ is very hittable. Whyte has improved so much since that first fight.
AJ hasn't.
Yeah.
AJ hasn't.
But let's look at the fighters they've fought, right? AJ, since that Dillian Whyte fight, right? Fair enough. He beat Klitschko. There's no doubt, world class fight.
There you go.
I wouldn't say world class performance because he was knocked down, but yeah, he beat Klitschko. He beat Charles Martin to win the title.
Right.
He then beats Dominic Breazeale.
Yes.
Not the best. Eric Molina, who actually fought last night on the undercard. And you've seen him fight.
He fought the Klitschko. That was the Klitschko fight, wasn't it?
You see him fight Hatton.
But you look at Dillian Whyte's got the same resume. Dillian Whyte has the same resume. Yes, he has.
That's better. Dillian Whyte.
Oh my God.
I'm writing this down right now.
Oh my God.
So
what's Dillian Whyte's biggest win? Povetkin. Surely.
I think Dillian Whyte's biggest win was probably Joseph Parker. But
he just beat Parker.
Dillian Whyte, yeah. But look at what did Dillian? What would you, Joe?
Because he dropped him.
Would you rather pay for a Dillian Whyte fight or an Anthony Joshua fight?
An Anthony Joshua fight.
Exactly. Joshua.
I'm sorry. I would much rather watch a Dillian Whyte fight. You always get.
Oh my God.
Joseph Parker. He knocks Joseph Parker down twice. The 12th round, Joseph Parker hurts Whyte, and everyone's on the edge of their seats waiting for the bell to go. You always get a knockout in a Dillian Whyte fight, and I just think in a rematch with Joshua,
you didn't get a knockout in that Parker fight.
I just think he's too strong for Joshua. I do. I think he'd knock him out in.
How many rounds?
You're laughing, but I honestly think
Dillian rounds?
Joshua. And I think Dillian Whyte gives Tyson Fury a better fight than Joshua does.
Oh my
Dillian Whyte is the most underrated fighter in boxing.
Oh my God, I just don't understand your logic. Put this way, Dillian Whyte has been knocked out cold off 2 people, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Joshua and Povetkin.
I'm not disputing.
Did you see Joshua get knocked out Povetkin? Joshua took his best shot and kept on walking.
I've seen Joshua get hurt. You said it in the first podcast, Shay. Joshua was hurt by Povetkin in that first fight.
He didn't get put to sleep. He didn't get put to sleep. Dillian Whyte got put to sleep.
But Dillian, that was a very. No, I'm speaking facts, Shay.
Dillian Whyte speaking facts at all. I don't understand.
Povetkin in both fights. I honestly think Dillian Whyte would beat Joshua in a rematch, and I think he would give Fury a good fight, a better fight than Joshua would.
If Dillian Whyte ever fought Joshua again, Anthony Joshua would take his head off in 2 rounds.
Dillian Whyte
absolutely.
That's been clipped.
Dillian Whyte fight 6 rounds.
Oh my God! It's just so Dillian Whyte's hittable, very very hittable.
And Joshua isn't.
Joshua's got better defense than Dillian Whyte, 1,000,000,000,000,000%.
If Dillian Whyte goes in and he thinks boxing wise, he gets behind his jab.
You can't. There's only Tyson Fury in my opinion, that could school Joshua with a jab. Dillian Whyte hasn't got the ability, the technique to school Joshua with a jab. He'll have to make it ugly like he did in the last fight. Like, AJ just takes him. AJ is better in every single department. 100%.
This is why I like doing this, because it's for opinions end of the day. I honestly just think, I think Dillian Whyte would give Wilder a better fight than Joshua would. I think Wilder would be more likely to knock out Joshua than he would be to knock out Dillian Whyte.
So, would you see Joshua get to beat off Wilder?
I don't know.
Well, wait, then that's it.
Like, no, right now, in 2021, I think Joshua would beat Wilder. But when we were seeing all them talks for Joshua Wilder, I think it would have been a lot closer fight. Because by the way, Deontay Wilder could also have the same chances as knocking out Dillian Whyte, just because he carries that he is the most dangerous heavyweight boxer ever, just because of that punch he has. So I think at the time, Joshua Wilder, if that fight happened in 2018, you would have seen, and I'm not saying it would have been it would have been close, because it would have been a shootout of who lands first, as would Dillian Whyte Deontay Wilder be, which is why I want to see that fight.
I think watching last night's fight, I seen the shots land on Povetkin. I think that right hand does. I think if Anthony Joshua lands that right hand on you, you get knocked out. I don't think Dillian Whyte hits harder than Anthony Joshua. No chance. Absolutely not.
I just think styles make fights.
But look what happened in the first fight. What's Dillian?
That was 5 years ago, Shay.
It doesn't matter if it's 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Anthony Joshua has improved more than what Dillian Whyte has.
I don't think so.
Facts, James. Absolute facts. He's fought higher level opponents. The Klitschko win alone is better than anyone on Dillian Whyte's resume.
Oh,
I think
I'm not disputing that, but in terms of like opponents, Dillian Whyte, Joseph Parker, Anthony Joshua, Joseph Parker. Dillian Whyte knocked down Joseph Parker, Anthony Joshua didn't. Fair enough, Dillian Whyte was wobbled at the end of the fight. Dillian Whyte has beat Derek Chisora twice. Dillian Whyte beat Lucas Brown, former contender. Dillian Whyte destroyed Povetkin in his last night. He pretty much destroyed Povetkin in a third fight. Joshua beat Povetkin. I just think the resume is very similar. Joshua has Klitschko on the record. I just think Dillian Whyte gives Fury a better fight than Joshua does. And I think Dillian Whyte, I'm not saying...
How though? I don't understand how.
I just believe that Dillian Whyte would beat Anthony Joshua in a rematch.
Oh my God. Like, change subject now.
Yeah. I just think, like, I just think, this is about opinions at the end of the day. And I think I respect Shay's. And by the way, Shay, you could be totally right here. I could be totally wrong. And by the way, I probably prefer Joshua than Whyte as a person. And I'd probably, but I'd love to see that rematch between Joshua and Whyte.
I doubt it's ever going to happen, but
very exciting now. I think he's got a few years left, Dillian Whyte, in him, probably about 2 or 3 years, and I think then the last 2 or 3 years are going to be very exciting. And I hope we see him crowned heavyweight champion, because he deserves it. And then by the end of his career, because he'd be so unlucky if he wasn't. But moving on, we got a fantastic undercard last night as well. The highlight for me was Ted Cheeseman. What a war!
That was a brilliant fight. It was a dog fight, as this year.
Yeah.
Like, hats off to JJ Metcalf as well. He kept on coming, kept on loading.
He was
Ted
pounds.
He came back. He was done.
Yeah.
He came back. Cheeseman as well. Both had solid chins on them. That was a proper domestic dust-up.
As well, like, just before Cheeseman knocked him out, Metcalf had like a little spell where you thought, oh, Cheeseman's hurt here. And then Cheeseman came back with it. I think it was a lovely combo, I think. I think it was a lovely combo that finished him off. What a fight, though. Hats off to Ted Cheeseman.
Yeah, therefore.
And he's only 25, by the way.
Yeah. He's like, he came off 2, I would say bad losses, but big losses to Sergio Garcia for the European title. And obviously Scott Fitzgerald. And I think that knocked his confidence back. And I remember Tony Sims, his trainer, saying, that's not you in there. He's known for Tony Sims once he says he prefers in boxing. Then he does like getting into a fight like a slugfest. But I think we're saying there you can mix it up very well. And one fight I think we've got to see is Ted Cheeseman against Anthony Fowler in the summer.
That was definitely mentioned yesterday. That'll be mad.
It's a main event, Liverpool. Remember when the fans are back?
Probably like a smaller arena. You couldn't obviously get it,
Liverpool,
but you
Liverpool
could.
maybe.
Yeah, Liverpool definitely. Fans would show there. Definitely.
Fight camp. Eddie Hearn's fight camp.
I think Cheeseman fought, didn't he? He fought in the rematch against. Was it? Who did he fight? Was it? Who did he fight in the rematch on fight camp? He beat him.
It wasn't a rematch. It was Sam Egan.
Yeah, that's the one. And he beat him on points.
Yeah, it was very controversial. Though a lot of people had Sam Egan winning that fight, but I had Cheeseman 2 rounds maybe. I don't think Ted Cheeseman's in a bowling fight ever. He always comes to fight, never backs down.
Oh yeah, 25, and how many wars has he been in?
Exactly.
Last night says it all. Going up as well, just your opinions on the Woodley Molina fight.
Woodley, yeah. I think with someone that's with no amateur experience, came through the white collar system. I think Fabio Woodley's doing really well. I think Eric Molina was a solid test. It was weird the ending. Obviously Molina buzzed Woodley up a bit, and then I think it was a clean knockdown. I know they were complaining about the head, but yeah, it was a solid test. I think you can see Fabio Woodley moving on now. I'd like to see him against Nathan Gorman, maybe, or like a Daniel Dubois. That'd be a brilliant fight. And then obviously the debut of Campbell Hatton against a really tough opponent. I think he showed shades of his dad with a chopping down the tree and going to the body and that, but he's very raw. He's not a 40-goal man, he's 20 years old, so he hasn't developed that type of power yet. But yeah, like the future's bright for him.
Well, he hasn't. I don't think he's had any amateur experience either. But yeah, and I think nerves definitely got one, like hands down. But he won every round, by the way. I just think the nerves definitely got to him. He would have probably wanted to knock the lad out, considering it was his first fight. But I was looking at the record. The lad he fought has lost every fight. And by the way, that you have to do that because it's his first fight. You have to build him up, and he has to win his first 2 fights. But the lad he beat has never been knocked out, I don't think. Like he's always
never got stopped. He was very tough.
Yeah,
very tough.
I just think there's a lot of work on there, definitely, and I'm sure they will work on that. But now he's had that first taste of it all, and obviously if it was the first fight of someone not like Campbell Hatton, who's the son of Ricky Hatton, and you had if that was like Josh Kelly's first fight or something, people would be like, oh well, he's not great, is he? But I think you have to make a bit of leeway for him, considering he's been in so many. He's probably had all that the media building himself up.
I think what he's got to do, he has to make a name for himself. He can't live in the shadow of his father. I think he's got to listen. Forget Ricky Hatton. This is Campbell Hatton, the new era. He can't always live in his father's shadow because it's obviously Ricky Hatton's Ricky Hatton. It's big boots to fill. He's got to be his own person in that way. Create his own memories and not live off his father's name.
I remember watching a documentary on Mayweather Ricky Hatton, and Campbell Hatton is actually mentioned in it loads. Like Ricky's always going, "Oh, miss me son Campbell," like this and that, and it's mad that now 15 years later, Campbell Hatton was fighting, and I think it would have brought back a lot of memories for a lot of Ricky Hatton fans. Ricky Hatton was just before our era. But
it was my first fight. I can remember actually Ricky Hatton. First fight I stopped up for. I think me and my dad stopped up to watch Ricky Hatton against Mayweather. And I caught the end of the Ricky Hatton era, the Mayweather, the Pacquiao fight. And obviously watching her back along the years as I grew up, them nights in Manchester was just unbelievable. I'm hoping Campbell can replicate that. So in fact, go bigger than what his father done.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I hope it's true, but I think we might be getting a bit ahead of ourselves. I think we need to review the situation with him at the end of this year because he'll be wanting to fight 6 or 7 times a year, just because he's.
Yeah, he's. I think he's in a similar situation to what Conor Ben As in, obviously, he had no experience. He's obviously been nurtured along really well. I think that he'll go down a similar path towards him, like him.
Yeah, I think what you had with Campbell Hatton though is Ricky Hatton was so loved by everyone.
Yeah.
Like, he just connected with so many people, and I think that's what's so exciting for us who weren't really in that era. We get excited by fighters like Campbell Hatton, like Josh Kelly, because fighters like Josh Kelly are from where we're from, Sunderland, and we think, oh well, we can be in them, like, you know, nights that Ricky Hatton was in, where he's in, you know, Manchester Arena, and for us, Josh Kelly's fighting in our, you know, local, like, so the Stadium of Light, and, you know, he's winning world titles, and I think we see that as well. And again, Campbell Hatton, we see, oh well, we've seen it with his dad, how special it all was, and we think, oh well, maybe Campbell Hatton give us the nights Ricky gave everyone, and that could happen, and I hope it does. And I think as well, like, you'll have a large following of all the old Ricky Hatton fans. Ricky Hatton got so many people into boxing. You have to remember, he's he's actually a massive pioneer for boxing.
Yeah, 100%.
Really excited for Campbell Hatton's career. I won't talk about the other undercards. I don't know if anyone. I didn't really start watching it until.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to any fans expecting us to. I'm not expecting anyone. But I'm sorry if we can't. I don't know any more about the fights that night. I didn't really watch any. I think there was a fight. I did watch one. It went to points. It was two. I think it might have been two British lads.
Yeah, it was Chris Congo and Michael something. It was a decent fight. It was a decent scrap.
Yeah, not bad. It really took off when Campbell Hatton came on. Everyone felt it. And then you had the Ted Cheeseman fight after that. And then the Woodley fight. And obviously the main event with Dillian Whyte, who will beat Anthony Joshua in a rematch. Yeah, great night for boxing.
Definitely.
Great night for the UFC. I think that's. I'll also make another controversial opinion. I think that's the best fight night in terms of boxing and UFC we will see this year.
It's a big statement, a bold statement, I must admit. You've made a couple of bold statements today.
I know, but I just you've seen like such a good undercard with the Dillian Whyte fight, and you've seen Dillian Whyte come on and again, you know, make such a convincing performance, and that's what you kind of buy boxing pay-per-views for. Heavyweight, to see someone get knocked out, you got that, and then you go to the UFC, and pretty much you got everyone that you want to see win, you know, won the world title, won the world heavyweight title, also some entertaining undercards on that. So I think it was a fantastic night for fighting. I've just recovered actually from, because I woke up, I went to bed obviously like 7 a.m, woke up, and then, you know, was just excited to do this podcast again and discuss it.
Moving on, there's big news coming in. Legend Oscar De La Hoya is planning on returning at the age of 48.
Stupid decision.
I just got one thing, and I'll that's the only thing I'm going to say on this matter, and it'll be replicate what Dana White says. Like he says, cocaine's a hell of a drug and it's expensive. That's all I've got to say. He's got to pay the bills. That's it. I think that's all I need to say on that.
I mean, you actually told me about it when you were putting in what we're going to talk about for this podcast, and I've seen it. I was like, what's going on? Oscar De La Hoya was a fantastic fighter. And I know he did lose quite a few times, but you've seen him give a fantastic fight against Mayweather, which he probably did lose by about a round or two. I'm not taking that away. But he was such a he was a pay-per-view king, really. Like at one point, I think that him and Mayweather, it was at one. I think that was the biggest ever pay-per-view in boxing before Mayweather McGregor, and that got so many pay-per-views because of Oscar De La Hoya.
He's a big name in the Mexican people. He's the king of the Mexican people. He's given us so many good fights along the years. Pacquiao fight, Mayorga fights. Like, I just disagree with these legends coming out of retirement to box one more time. Like, they can get hurt, and like, they've made the money in life. Like,
and as well, like he's like the biggest promoter probably in like one of the bigger promoters in boxing with I think it's Golden Boy Promotions. Like he promotes a lot of like the big American fights. I just think like why? Like you were a fantastic boxer. I think he lost. He he stopped fighting for about 2 years after 2004, and then he came back. He lost to Mayweather, and then the Mayweather rematch was never going to happen. And then he went and fought Pacquiao and got absolutely, destroyed really against Manny Pacquiao. So I don't know. I don't know why you have to do it. Like you've made your money, and I think it's like what you said, Shay. He's probably took a lot of drugs. Yeah, and now
it's expensive.
Yeah. Who's he fighting, by the way?
It's unannounced. They haven't confirmed.
I'm sure like mentioned the UFC fight. I don't know who that is. But...
I just hope that De La Hoya's say it, like that doesn't happen, because De La Hoya was again before my time, but I just can't be bothered really with all that. It's like with all the Mike Tyson stuff, I can't really be bothered for it all. Like I don't really see the point. Like you've made your money and just enjoy it. Enjoy what a career you built and retire. That's it.
But as well, in those fights, don't they have they change the rules, so it's like there's no knockouts?
I think it was the same, similar to the Roy Jones and Mike Tyson fight, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, that was.
I don't know. It's under the Triller banner. Obviously, done that Mike Tyson fight. It's got the Teofimo Lopez, George Cambosa fight. It's obviously got that mockery of the sport. Jake Paul against Ben Askren fight. I don't.
Did you see that the other day?
I was just about to mention that. Jesus, I mean,
it's just embarrassing, isn't it? It's just embarrassing to the sport. Like, whereas, like, if you compare this whole YouTube boxing, when Logan and with JJ and KSI, like, it was more respectable. Do you know what I mean? It was more likeable.
I think you've got to take it for what it is with them kind of fights. They would do it. They did that, and it was really for like YouTube world kind of more than a boxing world. And I think for what it was great. And hats off to Eddie Hearn for that. I just think with this whole thing of is Jake Paul, is it Logan's brother or something like that?
Yeah.
I just think it's really embarrassing. Ben Askren's not a. I don't know what I think Ben Askren surely will win that fight, won't he?
I hope so. I really hope so.
I don't think he will, but I hope he does. But Ben Askren's one of the worst UFC fighters I've ever seen in my life.
But I watched the press conference because it was being bigged up, and I watched it, and didn't like Ben like push him or something, and then Jake Paul tried to like throw like
just a mockery. It's embarrassing to watch.
Nothing. I don't think we're going to talk about any of that shit because it's an embarrassment to the sport that we love, that everyone watching will love. So it's with De La Hoya. Can't really be bothered to get into it all. I think I mean, I'd love to talk about it more, but I think that's the last kind of care about it. Like you've made your legacy, you've made your money, motor, and you could continue to do that. So that's it for me. Like, it's not pointless, in my opinion.
I do want to. I mean, sorry. As much as I don't want to go back to it, I do want to address the whole Jake Paul stuff. It really bugs me because we all know there's plenty of amateur and even professional fighters out there who would undoubtedly beat Jake Paul, but are not getting the opportunity just because he's a name. And it really bugs me because there's lads who've trained their whole life to get at that level, and he's essentially kind of taken it away from them because he's a mouthy idiot on YouTube, and it doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah,
dead body in a video.
That's Logan. That's
his brother. Good reputation that family has.
It's like exactly what you say. It kicked off with Tyson Fury's brother, Tommy Fury, I think. Like they were having a little scrap. He had like a little scrap with him, I think, on Instagram stories, something like that.
Just all waffle, really.
Again, with Jake Paul, though, he doesn't call out any boxers. He didn't when Tommy Fury called him out. He didn't respond and say, "Yeah, let's fight." He took the mick out of it. He hasn't called out one fighter yet. He's called out Ben Askren, who's a wrestler, Dylan Dennis, who's a wrestler, Conor McGregor, who's a mixed martial art. Everyone who he's called out are not boxers. If you're going to fight in boxing, you fight a boxer.
He fought on the Mike Tyson card, didn't he, against that basketball player?
Exactly.
I remember.
I tell you, I think there's one fight for Jake Paul I have, and I think this will end the YouTube boxing. Just fight KSI.
Do you think KSI beat him?
I actually watch. Like that's one of the YouTubers I watch. I think it's quite funny. I like him.
I think KSI beats him, and that ends the whole YouTube.
Hopefully.
Exactly.
So,
just go. Yeah, exactly. Go away. It's like what Joe said. Like it's taken away. It's like with this whole thing of like going back, professional fighters going back, like Mike Tyson. I remember actually staying up for that fight in November. It was absolutely.
I did it. It was just a joke.
I was so disappointed. I remember at the time. I went to bed. I had like 3 hours sleep. Went to work. It was a complete pointless weekend. But just leave it in the past. The YouTube thing again, pointless. It's taken away like valuable, boxing time for individuals like who've actually worked hard.
And then, what doesn't help it is though the fact that whoever, I don't know who promoted the Mike Tyson fight or was like in charge of it or whatever.
It was that Driller, wasn't it? Triller.
But they're putting Jake Paul on that card, and it's like you're not helping it. You're really not helping the cause. Like
we're trying to get more viewers, obviously, young kids to watch it or whatever. Yeah. So, we're going to talk about Errol Spence, Terence Crawford not happening.
I didn't see that. I think that's just all politics and Americans. There's all this Al Haim Bob Arum bullshit where they're not putting fighters with fight like that Al Haim and like I would never work if I was a professional boxer. I'd keep away from Al Haim and it just doesn't let you work with any from rival brand. I think that's the biggest fight in that division. One of the biggest fights in boxing. Crawford against Spence, and that's just a shame, really. I think we're going through that probably to see what we did with Mayweather and Pacquiao. I think we're going through that again, and like it'll just not happen until they're both 40-year-old and out the primes. And
I think it's a good little fight to make. Definitely, it's just not like what you have the problem with welterweight is that we've seen the golden age kind of. From like 2006 2010, where you had fighters like Pacquiao in their prime, Hatton, Mayweather, you had De La Hoya coming in for that little bit. You had Margarito, you had the lad Pacquiao for 4 fights with what's he called? Marquez. You had so many big fights, and I just think now the welterweight division. I'm not saying it's an awful division. I think it's a decent little division still. I just think fights like Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, whilst it is like a massive fight, the welterweight division's kind of died off. I think a little bit now.
They're not big stars.
Yeah, that's a big fight. I think didn't Kell Brook had a fight with one of them, and I completely.
Both of them? He's had a fight with both of them.
Lost against Errol Spence, and then he had a hiatus for a few years, and then he came back and fought Terence Crawford.
Yeah.
Who is? Hang on, I'm really sorry to all our viewers. This is bad knowledge from me. Who was in a car crash? Which one of them two were in a car crash?
Spence.
Errol Spence. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That all. Yeah. I just think the welterweight division is a bit dead at the minute, and I think that fight, as big as it sounds, and as big as it probably is, both undefeated fighters. I wouldn't watch it. I don't know why the name it doesn't really have a big appeal to us to watch.
Yeah, I think I'd watch it if it was for all the marbles, all the belts. I'm not sure who holds the belts.
Lightweight's a bigger division than welterweight these days.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Do you want to take over, Joe, for
the questions?
Yeah. So on our Instagram, we put out earlier today, asking if any of the viewers had any questions. If you don't follow our Instagram, by the way, it's I'll put it in the description below anyway. So the first question, I'll not read anyone's names out for obvious reasons, but I do want to give a quick shout out to @SpunnerWeb. They've been really supportive of the channel, and their question is: will Mike Tyson ever beat Evander Holyfield, and how? Will it be a KO or not?
No, I don't. In fact, probably is not. I think as I've seen in the Tyson Roy Jones fight, that weren't Mike Tyson. But obviously, Evander Holyfield was active for a couple of years after Mike Tyson retired. I think that benefits Holyfield. So I'd imagine Holyfield he'll not knock him out, but it'd be bad decision or something like that.
Do you not think the fight there will be similar to the Roy Jones fight, where there'll be rules put in place so they don't effectively hurt each other?
Probably because the L been at the end of the day. I don't want to see it happen tonight, but if it was to happen, I'd imagine they have some sort of rules in place for that.
It's just a money grab at the end of the day, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Next question has Tyson Fury went off his ambition with the interviews when he says that he can drink and get fit in 7 weeks?
No, because he was back in training like 2 days ago.
It's mind games, isn't it? I think it's the same with Billy Joe. Like him, he tore his rectum, for example. I think it's just it's Tyson being Tyson, really. At the end of the day, like, you know, he's like, he plays up with it. He'll say one thing to another interview and then say the next to another. It's just Tyson playing mind games, and it's good to watch. Really, it's funny to watch.
Yeah, you see Billy Joe when he was in an interview with IFL TV, and he basically went like, "Oh, I'm there to be knocked out inside 2 rounds when he fights Canelo." It was one of the funniest interviews I've ever seen, because he was in. I don't know if I actually know that this is happening, but he said he was going to India to do his training camp. So I was like, what's going on there? Like, he was talking, and he was wearing this like apron where he had like muscles and stuff. It was so like funny, the interview. I'd actually really recommend it. And he was trying to like fool Cougs who was interviewing him. Like, he was going like, "Oh, I'm there to be knocked out." When we all know deep down Billy Joe is going to give Canelo a good fight, which we will be discussing on this in the next few months. I just think we'll let that be for another day, that kind of Billy Joe fight, because we want to build that up more, big it up more, because it's such a big fight. But going on back onto the Tyson Fury question, I just think sometimes I do get worried, because you're like, in my opinion, the only person who beats Tyson Fury is himself. And sometimes when you hear questions like that, like, "Oh, I'm drinking 14 pints a day," you get a bit worried, thinking, "Oh God, like, is he going back into his old ways?" I watched the interview, and it was like a pre-fight interview. I think it was when Tommy Fury was fighting or something like that. And he was just saying, the way he says it, his mannerism, you can just tell, like, he's not really like, he's not really arse. It's just not really true. Like, he might be drinking 14 pints a day, but as I say, literally 2 days ago, he was back in training for the Joshua fight. So I don't think that really affects anything, because he's back in training now. And he beats Joshua, in my opinion, as I've said again, inside 5 rounds. So, yeah. And by the way, I'm not slagging Anthony Joshua off. I am, but I've slagged him off like 4 times now in our first 3 podcasts. But I generally still think, like, I could completely eat my words there, because I do like Anthony Joshua still. I just think Tyson Fury beats him inside 5 rounds, because I don't think any other fighter is anywhere near him.
Going on the last question, we only really have time for 3. This one's going back on at the UFC, and it reads, "Does Jon Jones and Ngannou go all the way when they fight?"
No,
absolutely not. I don't say the fight going.
You get the knockout, and I think
both fighters are capable of a stoppage. Definitely, but Ngannou, I'd say a stoppage.
I agree. I think we discussed it earlier in the podcast with Jon Jones. Yeah, we did. I think Ngannou, you get Ngannou finish inside round 1 or 2, or if not, you will see Jon Jones again you will see like Jon Jones on Ngannou's level, if not, and Jon Jones could stop them a bit later on. Once again, I can't wait for that fight. I think that's the biggest fight in UFC history after some of the McGregor fights. Yeah, but I answer the question, no. Ngannou will probably beat him, in my opinion.
I don't think we covered this earlier on, but what did you make of John's tweets after the fight?
I loved them. He was speaking facts. Like, Jon Jones is Jon Jones. Like, he was saying, like, when McGregor asked for more money, it's simple, but when Jon Jones asks for more money, it's controversial. I think Jon Jones deserves more money. Like I said, that's the biggest fight. They both deserve to get paid. Jon Jones, and with Dana White, I think Dana White was a bit disrespectful in his press comments, telling Jon Jones to move to 185. Like, it was just bizarre.
Yeah, John wasn't very happy about that on Twitter.
Don't know anymore.
I do think Jones has been a bit defensive, like overly defensive on Twitter, because he's like replying to people slagging him off in the comments, and he's like having a go at them, and it's like, just chill. Like, you're going to get the fight if you want the fight. You don't need to go slagging off all the people who don't like it. Just prove them wrong if you're true about what you say.
I think that's massive that you've brought that up, Joe, because that tells me that Jon Jones isn't confident in beating Ngannou.
It doesn't sound like it.
So, mentally, he might not be there in thinking you beat him. Which, by the way, like Ngannou, after last night's performance, like you would probably be terrified. But
Jon Jones is Jon Jones. He's been doing this a long time.
But this is something
I know it's different. Like Jon Jones has been there and done that. I know it's a different challenge, obviously in Ngannou and that, but like Jon Jones is always mentally ready. He's not scared of no challenge. Trust us, he wouldn't have put all that weight. He's moved to 245 now. Walks about. He wouldn't have put all that weight on for nothing.
Do you not think he was expecting Stipe to beat him? To beat Ngannou? Because I don't think he'd have been acting the way he's acting on Twitter had Stipe won. If that makes sense. I think it'd have been kind of right. Let's set a date. But I don't know whether he was a bit thrown off by the knockout. I don't know.
I think he's going to get paid. When the fight's there, he deserves to get paid. The prize fight that and the deal, like I think that fight will definitely happen. There's no avoiding it. Like if Jon Jones doesn't take the Ngannou fight, like his legacy's in question. In my opinion.
I agree with that. Yeah. If let's say Ngannou beats him, who would want to fight him? Seriously, is there anyone that would actually go? Yeah, I'll fight him.
Well, now someone else got a win over him. I know it's the most boring UFC fight I've ever seen, but Derek Lewis. I think maybe he's the only one. I think Ngannou will put him to sleep. But that's a bit it, really.
That's a simple answer.
Right, I think that's it. Once again, thank you so much for all the support. It means the world. I think we've hit now we're well over 500 views for our first one. I think we've got over 150 for our second one, which isn't mad considering we're just a new podcast we've just kind of started as three lads just wanting to talk about fighting. And we will be taking a few weeks off now after this just because we
want
and we have gone pretty hammered the podcast for the last week. But yeah, thanks again for everyone supporting. If you could subscribe, links to our Instagram and Twitter will be advertised. The Daft Lads podcast, Answer My Theory. Someone actually answered my bowling theory in the comments.
You and this bowling theory. My word.
Yeah, again everyone. Francis Ngannou, new heavyweight champion, absolutely buzzing. Dillian Whyte.
Baddest man on the planet.
Definitely. Dillian Whyte, unbelievable performance. He beats Anthony Joshua in a rematch. What a night of fighting. We'll probably catch us in a few weeks because I see we're going to have a little break. Thanks everyone. Yeah, stay safe and enjoy the Easter break.